Oh, hello there. Welcome to the Burt Locker Fights in 15 for UFC Vegas 29. In a nutshell, what you're getting in this video is I'm going to pick out a few underdogs that I think have got a chance of coming good to bet some money on this week's UFC card, and that'll be in 15 minutes or less. Side note, gambling is for idiots. Only gamble what you can afford. Always gamble responsibly. If you feel like you have a problem, probably don't watch this. I know, but either way. And if you're watching this on the Friday night, thank you very much for subscribing to the Patreon. If you're watching this on a Saturday, just to let you know, you can see this on the Friday night before the odds have shifted. Usually the odds shift a little bit on the Saturday because the weigh-ins have happened and people have started putting money down. So the best time to put these bets down is on a Friday night. And you can get that all on the Patreon. Link is in the channel. So let's start off this week. There's some sneaky good fights on this card. It's headlined by Dan Ige and the Korean zombie Chang Jung. And but I'm going to start off because Mr. Immortal Matt Brown is coming back to the octagon once again. I mean, he's had a couple of losses. I think he lost to what's his name, the Warrior. Bloody hell! I should really remember his name. He beat Diaz. Carlos Condit. God damn! Tell you what, my mind is going soft. It's not long for this fight. Either way. Matt Brown is taking on Diego Lima. Now, stylistically, this should be a pretty fun fight because both of them would prefer to stand and smash each other in the face rather than kind of do the wrestling kind of side of it. And look, Diego Lima, he's not as good as his brother. His brother's Douglas Lima, the fella who is long-time champion in Bellator, who's really fucking good. And Diego, I believe he's older. He's not quite as good. With respect, Diego, I would say that you do have some work to do to catch up with your brother. Now, Lima, he was on a decent run, kind of, before he got beaten by Belal Muhammad. But, I mean, against who? Like, split decision over Court McGee was probably his best result, like, up until losing to Belal Muhammad. So the thing is, Matt Brown, he hasn't had a good run of form lately, and he did get battered by Miguel Baeza, who was a young, up-and-comer. But with respect, again, Diego isn't that young, and he's not exactly, on this finish tear that Baeza was on. And, no, Baeza, he finished 7 out of 10 wins. He's only lost one time. And Diego, he's on nowhere near that kind of form. He is much more of a Ben Saunders, okay? Why do I bring up Killer B Ben Saunders, I hear you asking? Well, let me just clarify that. Basically, Matt Brown managed to knock him out in 2019, and that is why I think that Matt Brown has a good avenue to win this fight, right? Matt Brown ain't done yet. You know what I mean? Generally, unless it's an absolute killer, like young up-and-comer, like Matt Brown will have a good night at the office. I think he has a good night at the office against Diego Lima. Now, the odds on this one, he is coming in as an underdog, which is why, I picked it up. So you've got Diego Lima as the 1.57 favourite, Matt Brown's the 2.38 underdog. That's worth taking as an underdog all day. But what I'm going for is there is a sneaky +6 on the knockout for Matt Brown. Now, Matt Brown, he is a savage. I think that he finds the knockout here. The submissions are 10s. It's not impossible, I guess. The decision's there as well. The decision is the most likely outcome the bookies have got down for Matt Brown. Yeah, maybe rightly so. But I've got a feeling I just like the value there on the +6 for the knockout for Matt Brown. Obviously, you've got Diego Lima's 5s to get the knockout, but I don't think Diego Lima, with respect, has got the quality to beat Matt Brown. I may be wrong, because age catches up to everybody sooner or later. And Matt Brown and it's like that. It's like a switch. It's like a straw that breaks the camel's back. And the only way we're going to find out if the camel's back is broken is when Matt Brown steps in there one last time. But I don't think it's going to be one last time. I think he plans to stick around for a bit longer. And I do think he finds the knockout against Diego Lima, so I'm going with that at +6. That's being added to the bet slip. So then we've got Marlon Vera versus Davy Grant. Now this one is 135 pounds bantamweights. This is an interesting fight because Marlon Vera, obviously he had a good night at the office against Sean O'Malley. I don't care what Sean O'Malley whines on about saying that it was a fluke or whatever. It wasn't. Marlon Vera threw that leg kick to do damage to Sean O'Malley, and it did enough damage to finish the fight. So that's what happened. He didn't have a great night at the office against Jose Aldo, but this is a fight I'm really looking forward to, actually, because basically these guys they fought before in 2016, and Grant, he got the better end of the unanimous decision in that one and managed to find the win. But right, let's put this into perspective. At the time, Vera was only 23, right? He's 28 now, which is much closer to, like, you know, what people see as like the athletic prime. Obviously, it varies from individual to individual, but obviously 23 is very young. So Grant, he's now 35, but... So some people would say, well, Grant, he's probably getting a bit old for this, especially at that division, because the lighter the weight class, the earlier people will retire. And that is just science, because the thing is, in the lighter weight classes, they often rely on speed and agility in their reactions rather than the heavier weight classes rely far more on, like, they can rely more on strength and power. Strength and power are the last things to go with age. The first things to go are your agility, speed, reactions, and that is why the lighter weight classes often retire a lot earlier. 35 is quite old for a 135 pounder. I'm not going to lie. However, so that being said, Davy Grant has shown no signs of slowing down. He's coming off 2 back-to-back victories in 2 years with 2 knockout wins, right? And that is momentum. And the fight game, it's all about momentum, because whilst Vera, he's coming off that loss to Jose Aldo. It was a decision loss, but it's still a loss. And the thing is, it was to one of the greatest featherweights of all time. Do you know what I mean? Jose Aldo is an absolute legend of the sport. Everybody knows it. There's no real shame in that victory, but that still means he's got that loss momentum going, which is the negative momentum. That's not the momentum that you want. And Davy Grant has the momentum going the right way, going towards the win. Have I said momentum enough? I feel like I haven't said momentum enough in this video. So yeah, anyway, long story short, Davy Grant, I am taking him as an underdog here, right? Because he is coming in as an underdog against Marlon Vera, despite the fact that he won last time. And I think that's mostly because, obviously, Marlon Vera, he's a slightly bigger name because he got that win over O'Malley and he's been in the octagon with Jose Aldo. People have seen him. He's just been out there a bit more. So Marlon Vera is coming in as a sizable favourite here, 1.50, and that Davy Grant is the 2.63 underdog. Now, because, you know, it's going to be difficult. I mean, I would lean towards a decision for Davy Grant. The lighter weight classes tend to go to decisions. If I get my goddamn words out, Jesus, Burt, what are you doing? Yeah, they go to decisions more often than not. It's why the bookies are actually saying that the most likely outcome here is 2.63. That's Marlon Vera for the decision, but I'm going to take Davy Grant just to win, because, you know, by any means necessary, because it leaves, you know, it's a nice open-ended bet, because 2.63, that's a good price. That's a good price for somebody who I think has a very good chance of winning, because whilst Chito Vera, he beat Sean O'Malley, other than that, he's not beaten too many people, really. He is good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that he's better than Davy Grant to the tune of a 1.50 underdog. Does that make sense at all? So a 1.50 favourite. So I think that you've got value there on Davy Grant. Do you know what I mean? This one, obviously, any fight can go either way, but I just feel like when there's a fight that's on paper this close, like getting an underdog at 2.63, that's well worth banging on the bet slip, and I am going to do exactly that. That is on there. Boom. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. Alexei Olynyk versus Sergey Spivak. Now, they missed a trick with this one because, like, you know, you've got the boa constrictor taking on the polar bear. Where was that on the poster? I wanted to see cartoon bears fighting cartoon, like, boa constrictors, all that good stuff. And also, I might just add that Sergey Spivak might just be a vampire, right? This was the best picture I could find of him. Every other picture, including this one, every picture of him is blurry as fuck. Has he got like some sort of special power that blurs photos or something? Fucking hell, Sergey. Sort it out. But anyway, this one's a real tough one. I want to bet on Olynyk by submission. The odds aren't particularly tempting. It's only +4. The problem is that barring the Verdum fight, if Olynyk doesn't get the submission, he is likely going to get TKO'd because he just ends up taking punishment from bigger guys. And at heavyweight, you got those guys, they hit hard, man. And not being funny, but somebody called the polar bear probably hits pretty hard. Now, the submission is always a threat with Olynyk, but the polar bear, I don't know, he is good, but he's not like a world beater. Is he? Not really. Like, and for this matchup, I am gun to my head, I'm going with Olynyk. And here's why. Because I would rather take a risk on an underdog than take a risk on a favourite. Does that make sense? Because you've got Spivak here. He's coming in at the 1.44 favourite, right? I don't think he's that much better than Olynyk. I think that if you place a bet on Spivak, there's a really good chance that it goes the other way and Olynyk finds the victory, right? It's a real risk, right? And obviously, you're taking a risk if you're betting on Olynyk as well, because there's every chance that we see him on all fours getting smashed in the face from the side and then the referee pulls it off. That could happen. That is a distinct possibility. However, the odds give it a much bigger reward for taking the risk on Olynyk, so I am risking it all, baby. Well, I say risking it all, I'm risking £1. I'm not exactly a high roller here, guys. You know what I mean? Just pull back the curtain. I keep those stakes low. I keep those odds long, and those bets terrible. That's pretty much what I'm all about. So yeah, it's basically, yeah, Olynyk, I'm going to take him as an underdog here because it's too risky to take Spivak as a favourite. Because Spivak's 1.4 as the favourite, Alexei Olynyk 2.75 underdog. I was half tempted by the submission, but you know what? Olynyk, he has come out on the right side of some decisions as well. He outfought Fabricio Verdum when Fabricio came back after that long layoff, and he just looked really good, just really crisp. His stand-up was really good, and he just kind of went effortlessly to the decision, and that could happen as well. So, I mean, +12 on the decision, that's tempting. Not gonna lie, was really tempted by that. But yeah, the submission at 4s is probably the most likely. But I'm just taking him to win. Straight up, any means necessary, 2.75. That's going on the bet slip because it's too risky to take Spivak as a favourite. Just too risky. And then you've got the main event, Chang Jung, the Korean zombie. He makes his return against Dan Ige. So this is an interesting main event right here because Dan Ige, he's got a lot of hype behind him. But honestly, all I've really seen him do is go to a very close split decision over Edson Barboza, one that could have really gone either way. I remember that fight very clearly, and I didn't know who had won it at the end. And then he lost to Calvin Kattar, and he knocked out Gavin Tucker most recently. But my point is, I do not see that Ige really deserves to be such a favourite in this one. I say such a favourite, like he's only, what is he? The 1.80. It's a coin toss, this one. He's got 1.80 versus versus +2 for the Korean zombie. So, but I just feel like the Korean zombie, he's too hard to knock out. He has been knocked out 3 times, but I just feel like that, you know, the Korean zombie, he's a savage. He's so good. And when he's on form, this fight really depends on who comes in on form on the night. I'm finding it really difficult to pick a winner here, but one thing I do think is I think this goes the distance because number one, right, Dan Ige, he's never been finished. Okay, he's never been finished, so that means he's lost a couple of decisions here and there. The Koreans are but Dan Ige, by the same token, is not a finisher. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't tend to finish fights. So the fights going the distance at 2.10 is really tempting because I do like I said, this is a coin toss. I have no idea who's going to win this fight. It should be entertaining, but I do think it goes to a decision because I don't think either man is going to finish. Either man. So that sounds like a terrible porno. Either man's going to finish either man. But yeah, either way, yeah, I can't pick a winner, so I'm not going to. I'm going to go with 2.10 for the fight to go the distance, right? And I'm adding that to the bet slip. I'm adding that to the accumulator. So now what you've got here is a really terrible bet because you have got Matt Brown to get the knockout. You have got Alexei Olynyk to get the win. You've got Davy Grant to get the win. And you've got Korean Zombie versus Dan Ige to go the distance. 90.96. So let's call that 90 to 1. 90 to 1. That's worth throwing a quid away on that. If that is a terrible bet. Absolutely awful because, but possibly none of that is going to actually happen. But it adds a bit of spice to the night, and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of these fights. And I hope that this is actually just, maybe brought to your attention to some fights that you perhaps didn't know was happening, because this card has really flown under the radar. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to shine some light on some fights that should be really good fun, that perhaps haven't gotten the press that they quite deserve, so maybe you weren't completely aware of them. And like I say, if you are watching this on the Friday night, thank you so much for subscribing to the Patreon. It absolutely means the world to me. If you are watching this on any other day, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and please subscribe, and feel free to comment. Tell me how crazy I am to be placing some of these bets. I love talking about this, honestly. It's just, I love doing it. That's why I talk into the void every week. But I'll be doing a wrap-up show on Wednesday. We'll see how these bets went, and we'll have a look at what's been going on in the news. Until then, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.